but I want to make sure to refresh your memory on how to factor a trinomial into two binomials. Now, notice this topic, factoring any trinomial that has a plus sign in the back. If there's a plus sign in the back, that's going to help me a little bit with the symbols. So I'm going to take my trinomial there and look and see if any number goes into 3, 8, and 5 evenly, and there is no common factor. Then the next kind of factoring is trying to factor trinomials into these two binomials. So what I'm wanting for you guys to think about is if you wouldn't mind listing the factors that, the things that could multiply to 3. So 1 goes into 3, 2 does not go into 3 evenly, 3 is on the list, so I know I haven't missed any. And then go to the back number and list all the factors that multiply to 5. 1 goes into 5 times, 2 does not go into 5, 3 does not go into 5, 4 does not go into 5 evenly, and 5's on the list. I am going to have to use these two front numbers in the front of my parentheses and split the x's. There's 2 of them. Split 1 here and 1 here. We get some that are a little more fun with power of 4 in them later in the semester. Double check that if you multiply this one times this one, 1x times 3x, you do get 3x squared. Now, in the back, I know that I have to use 1 and 5 because the only way to get 5 is 1 times 5, or place the 5 here and the 1 here. So I'm going to list the choices. Is it going to be that one? Make another set of parentheses here. We know we want to use 1x and 3x. I always put my 1 and then my other number. I'll show you at the end. You could do that a different way. Okay, so in the back, it might be 1, 5. It might be 5, 1. How do I know? The plus sign in the back is going to help me a little. The numbers in the middle must add to a negative 8. So first, I just want to see what is the product here. That would make 5x. And what is the product of these two called outer and inner? That would make 3x. This one, if I multiply outer, I would get 1x. And if I multiply inner, I would get 15x. Some of you are already remembering and know what it is. If there's a plus sign in the back, then the outer and inner numbers have to combine together to make that 8. This one does. These do not add up together, combine together to make 8. So it's got to be this. Final step. If I have a plus sign here, both symbols must match each other. So they're both plus signs or they're both minus signs. So final step. A negative 1 times a negative 5 does make a positive 5, but a negative 3x and a negative 5x combine together to make negative 8x. So my final answer is this one. Let's see if I can find my highlighter. And there are 2 ways to type it into Delta Math, that way. The other way that it will accept it correctly is if you have 3x minus 5 in your front parenthesis, and then the 1x minus 1 in the back parenthesis. And last little thing to mention on that, if it's 1 times x here or here, you get to leave off the 1. So I'm going to erase, because 1 times a number is itself. So 1 times x is x. And here 1 times x is x. So the top one in yellow or this one down here, I guess I would need to use yellow. All right, let's try that a couple more times, because this kind of factoring you have to be very, very good at to succeed in this class and to succeed in the next level math as well. All right, here we go. We are going to factor by first checking and seeing if anything goes into all three of the numbers evenly. And I don't think there's a common factor. I know there's not a common factor. So next thing is the trinomial. We're going to see if we can't make it into two binomials because the multiplication part is going to be special for us moving forward. All right, the only numbers I'm allowed to put in the front of the parentheses are numbers that will multiply to 5. 5's prime, so those are my only two options. The numbers that I have that are allowed to be put in the back are things that multiply to 4, go in the back here, so 1 and 4, or 2 and 2. Now I'm also looking at that symbol thinking, when I do the outer and inner products, these are going to add to 9, and then I focus my energy on that symbol. So since 1 and 5 are the only numbers with the x squared, I'm going to put 1x, or just x, times 5x. So that is going to stay put. Multiply those together, you get 5x squared. So here, we call this trial and error. There are options, and actually, I'll go ahead and do all three of the options. However, you are not required to write all of this down. So if you can come up with what it is without visualizing them all, then I'm going to let you do that when I'm usually so picky about you showing all your work. It's either going to be 1 and 4 in that order, 1 here, 4 here, or it's going to be 4, 1, or it's going to be 2 and 2. And I know that because those are the things that multiply to 4. 4 times 1, 4. 2 times 2, 4. So which of these sets is it, and then what symbols am I going to use? So think about that back symbol again. Add to 9. Don't worry about that yet. Add to 9. Okay. 4, oh, I found it. 4x when I multiply the outer, and when I multiply inner, 5x. Those two add to 9, so I don't even have to try those. Now I have to decide, is it positive 1 times positive 4, or should I put negative 1, negative 4? Because negative 1 times negative 4 would give me a positive. And the answer is use that. So if I put negative, negative, multiplies to 4, that checks. This would make negative 4x. This makes negative 5x. The inner and outer terms make negative 9x. So I don't even have to worry about checking those. I got kind of lucky. All right, on this one, let's see if I can manage to find it first try again. List things that multiply to that front number. We're not going to get too tricky. So usually that front number is prime. So you don't have a lot on your list there. This one's a little bit challenging. Oh, don't forget, check first if there's a number that goes into all of them. And there isn't. 1 times the number itself. Things that multiply to 12. 2, you can use a calculator. 12 divided by 2, 6. 3, 12 divided by 3 is 4. The next number here should be 4, but it's already on the list. So I know I have not missed any factors. Okay, so here we go. We're going to make two binomials. Forced to use 1 and 7 with my x, 1x, 7x. So then some people just imagine what would happen if I put 1 and 12. What would happen if I put 12 and 1? How about 2, 6? How about 6, 2? How about 3, 4? How about 4, 3? All right. I am convinced 1 and 12 is not the right combination and order of the numbers. Now think about what we'll get here. 12x if I multiply here, 7x if I multiply, 12x, 7x, do not add to 20, we're close, 19, but not adding to 20. So we'll grab my eraser. What if I put the 12 in that position and the 1 on this side? I've actually made this worse because this is 1x when you multiply, and this is some large number. So if you add 1x to this really big number, I'm not going to get this middle term, the 20. So not that. And what I will usually do once I've considered 112 or the other 12 is I'll go up here and I'll say not those. Okay, let's check and see if maybe 6 and 2 are the correct numbers by seeing if when you multiply these outer ones, which is 2x, and these inner ones, which is 42x, remember the back symbol, do those add to make 20? They do not. So what if I switch the 6 and the 2 and I get 2 here, 6 here? I think I might be onto something. 6x if you multiply the outer, 14x's if you multiply the inner. Those combine together, add together to make 20. And the symbols, I didn't mean to do that, are going to be negative, negative. Remember, the symbols will match if there's a plus sign in the back. How do I know they're negatives? Because I want this to be negative 6x and this to be negative 14x. So when I put those together, I get negative 20x and go up here in the middle. That's what I was hoping to get, negative 20x. So I get to save some time and not do the 3 and 4. Now there is 2 ways. Remember, you won't have to write the 1 here. And you could write 7x minus 6 in the front parenthesis and the x minus 2 in the back parenthesis. So either this answer or this answer, both are accepted for your delta math. All right, what if there's not a plus sign? What if there is a minus sign in the back? I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, check and see if a number goes evenly into all 3. If not, proceed to list factors of the front number and list factors of the back number. 1 and a 5. And make your 2 parentheses. Put your 1, this time it's a y, and 2y. Decide if it's better to put 1, 5 or 5, 1, but be careful. This time it's a minus sign in the back. Crazy, get rid of that line. Okay, a minus sign in the back, sorry, means that when I do the outer and inner, remember those are multiply together, the things that I'm going to put here will have to subtract, subtraction in the back, subtract to make 9, and then I have to really be careful with my symbols. So if I put the 1 here, 5 here, this makes 5y, product 1 times 2y, sorry about that. These subtract to make 3y. So that is not the right positioning of my numbers. So back it off. And try something else. Let's try putting the 5 in this position and the 1 here and multiply 1y times 1, 5 times 2y. And now remember, I'm looking in this back part. Do those middle numbers, subtract to make a 9. 10 minus 1 is 9. So I know I have the positioning right. When you have a minus sign in the back, it's about these numbers subtracting to make that. And I know that I'm going to have 1 of each symbol. So is it going to be plus, minus, or is it going to be minus plus? We can just do trial and error here. If I put plus minus 1y times -1, -1, y, and 5 times 2y positive, when you put these together, do you get -9y? And you do not. So change them. Minus there, plus here. Positive 1y times positive 1 is positive 1y here. -5 times 2y's is -2y. And finally, I have a -9y, which is the thing I was hoping for. Okay. Same idea. Check. See if there's anything that goes into all three of those pieces that's in common. There's no common factor. List the things that multiply to 7. List the things that multiply to the back number. Put your front numbers in 1, this time it's P, 7 with the letter. Try that again. One with the letter, or just use the letter itself. 7P. And here, think ahead a little bit. Is it going to be 1, 2, or is it going to be 2, then 1? And you're thinking, what would I get when I multiply these and these? We're trying to subtract to make a 5. So I think the better placement is the 1 here, 2 here, multiply 2p, multiply 7p. If you subtract in the back means subtract the middle numbers to make 5. So this is the right combination. Then you have to decide plus sign, minus sign, or minus sign, plus sign. But I definitely know it's one of each because you have to multiply to get a negative in the back. So since I need a -5, I'm going to need a -7 here, +2 here. So let's make this one the positive, this one the negative, and that one's done. I'm going to make that a little better. All right, we're getting close, getting close. Check and make sure. Is there a number that goes into all three evenly? All of them, all three pieces. And there is not. So we're going to consider using the things that multiply to the front number in the front of the parentheses. And options or choices for the back would be 1 times 10, 2 times 5 is another option for the back. And you're going to try numbers until you find outer and inner, subtract to make a 29. So go ahead and put your 1 and 3 here, here. Decide if you think it's 1 and 10. I don't think so, because that's going to be 10x's, 3x's. That won't subtract to make a 29. Maybe 10 and 1. Oh, could I possibly have gotten lucky on the second try? I think I did. Multiply outer, inner. Look in the back, that's a subtraction sign. So these need to subtract to make 29, and they do. Okay, now the symbols. You need to change the symbols or work on the symbols to make sure you get a positive 29 out of this combination here. So we would want a positive 30 and a negative with the 1. So this is going to have the negative, and this is going to have the positive. And you could check by doing first, outer, inner, last, combine like terms. All right, now I said I was going to go towards the easy one. I call this the lucky one. If there's a 1 in front, you don't have to work as hard to factor it. All you need to do is make a list of numbers. Some people even know what it is already, that multiply to 20. So use 1 and the number itself. 20 divided by 2, place that here. 20 divided by 3 is not even. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 5's on the list. And then check the numbers to find some that add to 9 right here. So I know it's not these, and I know it's not these. And then you can use the same rule. If they add to a certain number, you know the symbols are either both plus or both minus. This time they're both minuses. So what does that mean? If you are lucky enough to get a 1 in front, then all you have to do is search for the pair of numbers that add to this and decide if they're both positive or if they're both negative. And this will be 1x, or you can just put x. This will be 1x. You can put x, put one of the numbers in the first parenthesis, one of these numbers in the back. And you're done. All right. I also did the lucky one with a subtraction sign in the back. So there's only 1 times 1 for the front. 36 divided by 1, put a 2. 36 divided by 2. 36 divides by 3. 36 divides by 4. It also, not 5, won't go into 36 evenly, it also divides by 6 evenly. But this time we're searching through the list to find two numbers that when you subtract them, you get a 5. Technically, the absolute value has to be 5. When I subtract 9 minus 4, I get a 5. So the only trick is one of these is a positive and one of these is a negative. So when you put them in, we do know they subtract to make a 5. Now focus energy on, we want to make sure when we do outer and inner products that these combine to make negative 5. So outer, inner, in order to get a negative 5, remember subtraction sign in the back, so the symbols must be different from each other. They cannot match. I would want this one to be negative and this one to be positive. So negative here, positive here. All right, you guys. That was a lot of information, but it's supposed to be review information. Feel free to play it more than one time. Feel free to watch the Delta Math videos for today's assignment, even though they're not assigned. They are available, and he does do it a different way than what I've shown you in this video. So if you like the way that the Delta Math person does it better and it works for you, then you can use that.